When people talk about traditional or legacy media being partisan, what are they really talking about? Nonpartisan news is about making sure that there's no political agenda in our reporting, presenting both sides equally, and perhaps also introducing some other things to consider, historical context, or another way of thinking about a topic that perhaps both sides haven't considered. So it's the basics, the who, what, where, when, how, and why. And with the intention that there's no politics involved. We're not trying to persuade anyone politically. We're not trying to court a particular type of audience member. We're just here for people that want the news, and it's straight news. But I was thinking to myself, football is a great example of what nonpartisan news really looks like and what commentary looks like. In football broadcasting, there's usually two people in the booth, the broadcasting booth. You got your play-by-play guy and you got your color guy. And the play-by-play guy is usually the voice of authority. He might be a little bit older. He doesn't necessarily have to have played the sport before. And he's giving you the who, what, where, when, how, and why. He's the guy that's sort of announcing, all right, it's 1st and 10, or, whatever, third and goal, or he's kind of setting the stage regularly and giving you an idea of what's the score, what's the time like. He's giving you some of the basics. The color guy can often be a former player, isn't always, but it can often be that way. And he's going to give you more analysis. He's going to be the guy that goes, geez, that receiver ran the wrong route, or that was the most amazing play ever, or, see what's going on here away from the ball. Let me show you what's happening. They're giving you some insight based on their knowledge. Now, sometimes the lines blur a little bit. There could be a tremendous play, an awful play, a great play, and there can be excitement in the booth. And this could be where the play-by-play straight broadcaster might say, wow, in my 40-year career, I've never seen anything like that before. So weighing in and saying, hey, this is a moment to pay attention to, but not telling you if that's a great moment or a terrible moment, just saying, wow, that's something that's pretty unbelievable. News is very similar. Straight news and nonpartisan news is more like the play-by-play, the what's going on, why does it matter, and maybe a little bit of a voice of authority. In the past, we haven't seen X, Y, or Z, and so this is why we're particularly watching this. It's a way of emphasizing a moment without editorializing it. And then you have the commentators, the editorialists, the columnists that might come on and give you their rousing opinion on a particular topic, because that's what they do. And those two roles are really separate. They should not be blurred. I have an example. This is from CBS Evening News. This is an example, just one example. There's so many. I just wanted to pick one for you. During this election cycle, that shows why some believe that the American press is particularly partisan. The mainstream or legacy media is more left-leaning than those new platforms that may be right-leaning. The evening news broadcasts are thought to be the most authoritative, the most special in America when it comes to delivering a nightly newscast. This is why all the major networks do it still to this day. And this was the opening of the CBS Evening News. I want you to listen to it and listen to some of the words that have been chosen.
Election day is just over 2 weeks away, and the fight for every single last undecided vote in battleground states is intensifying. Vice President Kamala Harris is targeting disaffected Republican voters by hitting the trail with Liz Cheney in the crucial blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Cheney was a powerful Republican congresswoman, and today she called Harris a responsible adult. As for former President Donald Trump, he was back in North Carolina again, pushing false claims about FEMA and immigrants. That's after he spent the weekend slinging a crude insult at Harris, engaging in lewd locker room talk about the late golfing legend Arnold Palmer, and staging a campaign stunt at a Pennsylvania McDonald's.
Okay, so what's wrong with that? What's wrong? What's wrong with that broadcast? Let me just ask you a simple question. If you had to guess, who does Norah O'Donnell favor? Just if you had to take a wild guess, right? Just based on what she had to say there in less than a minute, it would seem that she likely favored Vice President Harris, right? Just the terms that were used, the way it was presented. And you may even come back and say, well, yeah, Jenna, wait a minute. What's wrong with what she said about President-elect Trump? False claims, slinging crude insults, lewd language, a political stunt. Those things all could be arguably true. Well, there's a big difference between telling someone and describing an event in that particular way and showing the audience that. So, for example, the way that Nora O'Donnell presented Vice President Harris as having a certain strategy and having a high ranking Republican with her, Liz Cheney, who described her as a responsible adult. And then she moved on to President elect Trump, talking about him in a way that was more negative. This is why the press has that sort of reputation, because it seems that it was weighted differently. The job of a journalist isn't to tell you what to think about a certain activity, it's to show you. So, what's more powerful, describing language as lewd or actually playing the soundbite? There's a way of showing the audience so that they can make up their own mind rather than positioning the story before they even get to see it in a certain fashion. I had an amazing journalism professor. Her name was Rhoda Lipton, and she used this example, and it has stuck with me always in the past 20 years. And I think about it all the time. And I think it really exemplifies what we're looking for in journalism in America rather than partisanship. She said, the job of a broadcast journalist is essentially to respect your audience. Your audience has eyes, your audience has ears. Well, your job is to fill in the blanks. She would use this example of a red carpet and say, let's say there's a celebrity walking down the red carpet wearing a beautiful red dress. Some journalists are going to say, look at the celebrity in this beautiful red dress. And that is not your job. That is bad journalism. Another journalist is going to look at this and say, look at this celebrity. The dress that she's wearing has 10,000 sequins on it. They've all been hand sewn over a period of 4 months. And the designer said over the course of that time, they were trying to hit just the perfect shade of red for this actress. You can already see she's wearing a red dress. My job is to give you a little something to consider, to fill in those blanks, because you are busy, because you got a lot going on, because you have eyes, you have ears, and you know what you're seeing. And that's really what American journalism needs to do. This is why, though, what we're seeing in the press is sliding down that hill of just sort of labeling moments and being, instead of filling in the blanks for you and being a support for you, trying to be your eyes and ears to try to position the story before you even have a chance. And that's something we don't want to do.